What's going on, everybody? It's Friday, October 14th, 2022, daily episode log 30. So you've come a long way, 30 days, a whole month. I didn't expect to do this many, but we're here and I'm enjoying it. Received a lot of amazing feedback today. I love to see all you guys progressing and finding your way. Every day is a new day to learn, and it's such an experience being a trader. It's an emotional roller coaster. And last couple months here, last few months have been honestly tremendous for me. I'm finally hitting that stride in my career where I'm seeing that consistently profitability. And the only reason I really bring this up is because I've had a few people message me today where even though they're following along with this week in the Telegram, they still came out of this week negative and questioning what was going on with their own trading. And that really just comes down to your psychology and your money management. Those two things alone, and I have a whole video over this, and it probably has like the least amount of views, or maybe just average with the views that I have on my YouTube channel. And honestly, it should be number one, because we can sit here every single day and talk about technicals, but your psychology is going to ruin everything if you don't have that in check. I have a lot of people ask me about greed, about tilt, about patience. And if you look at me, and I'm not trying to say this to brag or boast, but I didn't take a trade after Tuesday. I said what I said and I stuck to it. I made my percent for the week and I was content with it. I didn't need to go into the market anymore. I didn't need to trade anymore. And this is what a professional trader does. It can be so easy to get sucked into the Twitter sphere and try to keep up with everybody and try to impress others or try to whatever. So the only reason I'm touching on that is just because I saw a few traders reach out to me. And again, this all has to do with psychology, in my opinion, and your money management, which both of those are covered inside of my trading psychology video. So definitely go through my YouTube channel. It's probably a week old, 2 weeks old. It's probably one of the most underrated videos out there. Like out of all the videos I've produced so far, it's the number one in my opinion. And I definitely recommend picking up the book, The Mental Game of Trading. And I'm also mentioning this as well because we're on Friday and we're coming into the weekend. So what are you doing on a Friday night? What are you doing tomorrow? Are you going out? Are you doing things you shouldn't be doing? Or are you in studying? Are you reviewing the week? Are you trying to refine yourself, figure out the mistakes that you did, figure out whether they're technical, whether it's psychological? Like the weekend, if you're not utilizing the weekend to figure out and improve your trading, and you just keep coming into the week with no improvements, no refinement, you have nothing that you looked at last week and figured out, okay, I'm not going to do this again, and I'm going to figure out how not to do it, then you're never going to progress. Okay, so I think people don't understand that. Like somebody mentioned on my Twitter today. He was thanking me, and I really appreciate it. But one of my videos, I said I'll outwork anybody, and he said my challenge is to outwork you, and I love that because on a Friday night, while my friends are out drinking, while my friends are going and doing other things, I'm inside looking at the charts, reviewing price, reviewing the day, the week, figuring out what I need to do to improve. Even at this stage, I still have things I have to work on. And it's just keeping your momentum going. So I'm not saying not to have fun or do any of that. Of course, I'm 23 years old. I like going out, socializing, and doing things, but it's the right place, at the right time, and when you earned it. If you're going out and drinking and doing whatever, like what are you celebrating for? There's nothing to celebrate. You haven't made it. So that's my opinion. That's enough of the ramble. Let's dig into today and what happened on price. So it was very interesting. I talked about in the morning review how I wasn't sold at all on a bullish bias. I did say I was a little uncertain, and I'll touch on that why. Um, if you ever hear me say that, and I did say, maybe in 30 minutes or an hour, I'll have a little bit more clear bias. And at times like that, things can really happen fast with price where you're unsure and then things become a little bit more clear with more information. So looking at the daily chart, we returned into this fair value gap here, coupled with the balanced price range. If you're looking at the dealing range from the swing high here down to the swing low, we're returning into a premium. And even on the weekly, let's look at the weekly candle. Just basically touching in that fair value gap, trace back up, and now we close out the week here. Still going to be looking for bearish prices. It's funny, if you look at retail side of trading, everybody yesterday was saying how phenomenal the stock market did, and it looks like a turnaround, and people are looking at this bullish hammer candlestick pattern. And I'm not hating, because I was once one of those people. I've been trading for 5 years now, and I traded retail for about 2 years, and I used to look at candlestick patterns, trend lines, you name it, I've traded it. So it's funny to look at that retail side and see them saying that. And then today we all, as ICT traders, are like, all right, we're all going short. So it's such a cool experience, man. I thank God every single day for ICT in my life, because honestly, without him, I don't think any of us would ever make it in trading. Like, he's such a blessing, man. I really cannot give enough gratitude. So let's go down to the 4-hour chart. I was talking about how I was looking at this when we were pre-New York session, and we were pretty bullish at the time. I said if we closed above this fair value gap, the premium end, then obviously I would be looking for the buy side liquidity to be ran, which we didn't get that closure, which is great. It's exactly what you want to see when you're bearish. Some people might have been looking at this fair value gap and order block. This is where narrative comes into play with higher time frame. I've been stopped out plenty of times when there's a perfect order block or perfect fair value gap, and it just trades right through it. And you're like, what the hell? And that just has to do with narrative. You have to understand higher time frame. What is price seeking? We're no way bullish. Nothing speaks bullish about this market at all. So only thing you should be really looking for is shorts. Looking at the 1 hour, we traded into this fair value gap. We're inside of a premium. Like I said, the dealing range on the daily, and we're pumping up into this. I was watching and this is another reason why this isn't a bullish order block, but I was just watching this as a possible area of interest. But the reason, like, if we were to reel this back here, some people might have looked at this as an order block. Oh, your last down close candle before up move or in a uptrend. The order block has to be coupled with a fair value gap with narrative, withdrawal and liquidity to be an actual order block. Okay, so that's just a little gem there. So we traded up to that fair value gap. We go down to a lower time frame. I was touching how literally during that time period, I was talking in the pre-New York session log, we ran buy stops and we were sitting inside this fair value gap. Okay, so there wasn't anything extremely clear at the moment I was speaking, and I was saying, pay attention to these, because I've been burnt on this model a lot when we have this huge run up in price and the price just retraces back down and there's some little fair value gap here and I try to go short, and then just it runs the opposite way because you're using the buy side fair value gaps to the bissies. So this was an interesting play here, and I actually reviewed it. I didn't even note this fair value gap here, which it's not a super high probability fair value gap to me because it's just not a nice displacement. I mean, it is fair value gap. It is there. It's sitting right here, and I did not note it. So this is a shorting opportunity that we could have went short off of because it's inside of a premium relative from the dealing range high down to the dealing range low. So we're dipping into that premium, which is actually a great shorting opportunity. I just don't like the size of it. I would like a larger fair value gap, in my opinion. That's just, I guess, from experience looking at things. Like, I would like something of this magnitude. So once price displaced lower, I was mentioning on the 1 minute here, once I saw this displacement and then we had this down move here, we were coming into that news at 9 a.m. at least my time. We had these relative equal lows, which were really, really nice. That's exactly what I was looking for us to target. And I said if we get close underneath this low here, that would be signaling to me we're going to run out the lows, which you can see as soon as the news hit at 9 a.m. my time, we just dumped right through those lows. And then we had sell side here, and then on even higher time frames, some sell side liquidity there as well. And this fair value gap doesn't meet the criteria of the YouTube model, which that's something somebody also messaged me about today, and I'll explain. So the reason why this doesn't qualify is because it's not inside of a premium relative from the dealing range high down to the dealing range low. We just dipped into the 25% and then melted away. So I was actually looking at this fair value gap on the 2-minute, which acted as a breakaway gap, and then these two last up close candles are your bearish order block. So if you go out to the 5-minute, this is your bearish order block here, coupled with the fair value gap, which is an actual order block. So I was hoping that price would dig up into that 2-minute time frame fair value gap, which would have been really, really nice for us to go short. We ultimately just tapped into this fair value gap here, 3-minute as well, and I believe the 5-minute had a little fair value gap underneath it. And the person who was messaging me was basically saying, is there a way to identify when price is going to do this? And, is there a way to enter when price doesn't dip into a premium? And I said, no, this is the reality of trading. This is the reality of being a trader. You have rules set in place. And I talked about this before. You have discipline that's going to help you, that's going to keep you away from bad trades. And then there's going to be times when discipline is going to basically, quote unquote, I don't want to say losing you profits, but it's keeping you semi away from capitalizing on everything. But that's on the flip side, it's keeping you away from harm. So, because if I went short here, that's me breaking my rules. And if I continue to do that, I'm going to break one of those rules one time and then get stopped out, and I'm going to be mad at myself. So it was just cool to watch price. I'll explain a actual setup that happened that I didn't annotate, but you could have went short on. So if we go down to the 2-minute time frame, after price left here and news opened, we had this really nice fair value gap here. And this is the actual trade setup model that you want to be looking for. Okay, so if you look at the dealing range high here down to the dealing range low, that fair value gap is inside of a premium, which is exactly what we're looking for. Price dips into that, gets right about to the EQ of the fair value gap, and then melts away. So that's something that I would be very, very happy and content taking a trade with. And that's what I'd be comfortable taking a trade with. Also today, the risk, because price has been moving so volatile with the news, even if you were to put your stop above here, you have a 17-point stop loss. Yes, the reward is great, but I'm always looking at the risk over the reward, to be honest. So that was the only setup to me that was super clean and super nice to look at. Body closure is beautiful, even on the 1-minute. And these are the type of the fair value gaps that I like. I like the nice large displacements. I don't like the little fair value gaps. It doesn't seem very valid to me. Like, this is just not a fair value gap I'd really like to look at. Okay, so that's a prime example of a really nice trade today. Looking at the rest of price throughout the day, returned back into this fair value gap here. And if you look at it even closer, we took out the buy stops here, ran into the fair value gap, displaced lower, and then you have another fair value gap here, and you just walk price down. So again, we go lower, return back into another fair value gap here, and this is actually reading the tape. This is reading order flow and seeing how price is reacting off of bearish PD arrays. So overall, I think today was really, really nice to see. You could have been targeting this fair value gap here as some take profits coupled with this down close candle. And I think that's it for today. I really appreciate all you guys. Definitely hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow via Telegram. And until then, good luck and good trading.